If I asked you whether you want to grow your business, I am pretty confident that you would say yes. But if I asked you why you wanted to grow it and what that looks like, would you actually be able to explain that? Because I find often that I speak to people and they will constantly say to me, I definitely want to grow the business. I want to be taken seriously. I want it to be bigger. And when I ask them what growth looks like, they sometimes really struggle to actually put that into words. It will be things like, well, I'd like to work with better customers, or we'd like more turnover. But then it's also often a case of, but I don't really want to grow the team because the team are a pain in the bum. I don't want to manage people. So it's easier to almost say, this is what I don't want. But herein lies the challenge, that if you do want to grow your business, unless there is a meaning, a purpose, something that actually sits behind that goal to grow, then there isn't really a motivation that sits behind it. It's just a bit of a vague idea. And turning a vague idea into a reality is very difficult, whereas turning something that has a really clear purpose behind it into a reality is far more likely to happen. So what I'm going to do over these next 6 videos is I'm going to talk to you about all the elements that go into building a growth plan that actually works. Not just a ton of ideas, not lots of colourful notes, not loads of brilliant inspiration that never happens. We're going to actually put together a growth plan that you can absolutely stick to and that will generate the exact kind of business that you are looking to create. So the first thing I really want you to think about today is, what does growth and success look like to you? So I really want you to think about, why is it important to you to grow? What does it actually mean to you? What would be the impact of that growth? If you ask yourself a really simple question, if my business grew, it would mean that. And then answer that question. And then ask it again and answer it again. So you go on this little route, which basically says, I'll give you a little example off the top of my head. If I grew my business, it would mean that we had a lot more turnover, we had money to spend, which would mean that we could grow the team, which would mean that I wouldn't have to do X, Y, Z, which I hate doing, which would mean that I could really focus on strategy, which would mean that we could grow even faster, we could hire more people, which would mean that we're creating jobs, which would mean that we're supporting our local community. And you could keep going until you reach a point where you actually say that right there is something that's really meaningful to me, and that is what sits behind it. Maybe I've struggled to articulate, but actually if we were to grow and if we were to achieve that thing there, I would be so proud of what we've done. And that right there is the massive motivation that you actually need to put together a solid, implementable, achievable growth plan even. Another key thing to think about here in terms of trying to pin down what's the purpose of growth for you is to ditch other people's ideas. Ditch the things that you're tempted to follow, whether that is the 5-figure months, the 6-figure months, the £1 million year, the 10xing your turnover, all the other stuff that you're seeing and you're hearing. These are all borrowed goals and borrowed purpose, and they all sound very exciting and they sound very big and like things you'd be massively proud of. But if they are not an actual goal for you as an individual and for your business specifically, then they're just a goal for the sake of a goal, and they won't motivate you on the dark, dull mornings when you're really struggling to stay focused on this plan. So get rid of anything that other people have said and done. Get rid of the ideas of, well, we need to aim for 10% growth, we should aim for 50% growth, we need to double our prices. All those sound bites and phrases, they're irrelevant. They're actually more often than not a red herring. So just focus on what success absolutely means to you. And within that, a really key thing to bear in mind is this is your business, it's your life, and it's your choice. So you have the choice over things like how ambitious you want to be. And if you want to create a lifestyle business because that's what fits with your model of success, then that is your definite definition of success. That's your motivation. Nobody can take that away. If you want to achieve global domination because you are hugely ambitious, then that is absolutely the right goal for you. So there's no right or wrong goals here at all. But the beauty is getting under the skin of this for yourself and really getting clear on what success means to you and what the purpose is behind growth. Because you get to choose what kind of business you create. You get to choose what kind of customers you work with, how big a team you build, what prices you charge, how many hours you work, how many holidays you take. All of these things go into you defining the exact type of business that you want to create and what success truly looks like for you. Because when you have that, then you can build a goal plan, a growth plan that absolutely gets you on that track. If you need more help with this, get in touch with me at tailory.co.uk, and you might want to ask me about my 90-day planning workshops.